Hello, you beautiful souls, and thanks for joining the Biohacker podcast, where we explore how you can optimize your health to live well longer. Today, I wanted to chat about leaky gut syndrome. It sounds really awful, but it literally is when the permeability of your intestinal lining, and we have more than 4,000 square feet of it, is compromised and allows toxins and bacteria to enter the tissues beneath it and into the bloodstream. A healthy gut lining controls this and prevents most of the toxins from entering. When I got leaky gut syndrome years ago, I'd never heard of it before. My tummy had always been flat, except for when I was pregnant. So when it started to look like I was 5 months pregnant again, I knew there was something wrong, and it wasn't that I was pregnant again. I also had other symptoms like excessive flatulence, brain fog, memory loss, joint pain, and fatigue. But the worst symptom of all was severe cluster migraines. Now, I've been a migraine sufferer since my 20s, but they tended to happen when I got my period. So I knew when I came down with these migraines every few days that I was dealing with something completely different. They were excruciating, had me bedridden for days, and my usual migraine medication was no longer helping. Looking back now, it was definitely the tipping point for when my body decided that enough was enough, and I needed to start listening. I admit, I've not always been a healthy eater. I simply wasn't taught to avoid things like sugar and processed foods. I was fortunate that I grew up in a house where our mother always cooked beautiful home-cooked meals, but she also made cakes full of processed flours and sugar that were a staple of our European heritage. And because I was blessed with what I call greyhound genes, I had always been a lean body type like my dad, who is definitely built like a greyhound. Snacks were filled with potato chips, donuts, and chocolate. Over the years, my intake of gluten built up and culminated, resulting in leaky gut syndrome, which my naturopath diagnosed. The key contributing factors that can lead to leaky gut syndrome are gut dysbiosis, poor nutrition and eating foods that are high in omega-6 fatty acids, processed foods and sugars, processed meats and cheeses, and poor fiber. This is what is considered an inflammatory diet. Stress, illness, certain medications like antibiotics and an overuse of painkillers can create gut flora imbalance. Smoking, drug and alcohol use, and toxin exposure from chemicals in our homes, personal care products, and in our environment. So how did I heal my gut? It wasn't easy, and it meant I had to take a long, hard look at my diet. With the support of my naturopath, I went on a 6-month cleanse and cut out the following. Firstly, dairy. I know there's mixed messages out there about whether dairy is good for you or not, but we've always been taught to drink our milk so we get in calcium. We need to keep our bones strong. But unfortunately, like so much of our food, dairy has become highly processed. It has also been linked to causing migraines, so this was definitely in my bag to throw out. Alcohol. I'm not a big drinker, so this wasn't too difficult for me, but I do enjoy a glass of wine on the weekend if we're out for dinner. A lot of the alcohol we consume is loaded with sugar, which feeds the bad bacteria in our gut, leading to gut dysbiosis or an imbalance between the good and bad gut bacteria. All forms of sugar, including paring back on fruits high in fructose. Australians consume an average of 30 teaspoons of sugar a day. That's more than half the recommended daily dose. According to a number of studies, overconsumption of sugar increases inflammation and is linked to a rise in diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and cancer. When you consume too much sugar, advanced glycation end products, or AGEs, which are proteins in the body, become glycated. These compounds promote oxidative stress and inflammation by binding with cell surface receptors, altering how they work, and not in a good way. Sugar disrupts the intestinal gut bacteria, increasing gut permeability and causing gut dysbiosis. Given my diagnosis of leaky gut syndrome, sugar was definitely my gut's enemy and had to be eliminated from my diet while I healed it. So while fruit is an excellent source of fiber, vitamins, and antioxidants, for the time being, I had to cut out fruits high in sugar like bananas, cherries, grapes, watermelon, and of course my favourite, mangoes. Sugar is also hidden in many processed foods, so you should always check the ingredients on the back. Even foods that profess to be healthy can be high in sugar. During that detox cleanse diet, the only fruits I was really allowed to eat were berries, and so I pretty much stuck to eating blueberries. Next on the elimination list, gluten. There's an abundance of research that has shown gluten is bad for the gut. While I wasn't diagnosed with celiac disease, gluten certainly wasn't helping my situation. Modern day flour just isn't what it used to be. They are now highly processed, can be sourced from genetically modified wheat, and contain pesticides and mold that increase our toxicity levels. Don't get me wrong, gluten isn't bad for everyone, especially gluten found in whole grains. But for me, with a compromised gut lining, I needed to ditch all gluten. There were also certain vegetables I couldn't eat, like potatoes, tomatoes, and eggplant, or otherwise known as nightshade vegetables. It was a tough diet to stick to, especially when going out to dinner, which I ended up avoiding as much as possible. But I stuck to it for the 6 months, and the results were amazing. My bloating disappeared and my stomach was flat once again. I remember looking down and thinking, oh, hello, haven't seen you for a while. My joints weren't aching anymore. The fatigue was gone. I had an abundance of energy. The brain fog had disappeared and my memory was sharp again. And my migraines had finally stopped. It was such a relief to feel healthy and pain-free again. My naturopath had also given me some herbal supplements that supported the healing of the gut lining while I was on the detox diet. After that cleanse, I did not have migraines for 2 years. It was simply amazing. I was allowed to reintroduce some of the foods that I had cut out, which I did slowly to see how my body would react. These days, I follow the 90-10 rule. 90% of the time, I eat really well, and then 10% of the time, I'll eat a treat. But my body is pretty quick to tell me, okay, let's get back to that clean eating. Which brings me back to the importance of listening to your body. It will tell you what it needs and what is happening. All we need to do is listen. By getting on top of my health issues and healing my gut, I am effectively reducing the inflammation in my body and decreasing my likelihood of getting a chronic disease, which means I will hopefully live well longer. If you're feeling any of the symptoms that I experience, like bloating, brain fog, sore joints, memory loss, migraines, I urge you to see your preferred medical practitioner. Get onto it now. That's all from me for this second Biohacker podcast. I hope you found my story interesting and that it has helped you or inspired you to make some changes in your life. Until next time, take care and remember to live well longer.